Roles of a denizen. A content creator is a user that creates posts and is rewarded based on the quality of their content. A content evaluator is a user that helps assess the quality of content and enforces community standards. The evaluator is effectively taking part in a marketplace to curate content and is rewarded for early evaluation. A content consumer is a user that wishes to find and consume the most valuable content in a given subject area or within a community. A lair owner is a person holding tokenized ownership of all or part of a community lair. Owners are rewarded with a portion of all mining activity happening within their lair. Owners are incentivized to build the best community of content creators and evaluators.
Hey, what's up everyone? Welcome to Thursday again. Back with Joe. We're doing a governance call on Den. We've got some updates. We've got some partnerships to talk about, one of them at least, and some winners. Everybody likes a winner. How you doing, Joe?
I'm good. It's been a very busy day.
It really has been a busy week.
Yes.
I've got my Den hat on. Check that out from the merch store.
Very nice.
Went with white.
It's embroidered, right? It's embroidered.
It is. Yeah, it's like stitching instead of just like printed on or whatever. So it's pretty nice. You can feel it if you touch it. Yeah. Everybody likes
I still love that logo. So.
Me too. I like it a lot. Especially like you told me recently that the number of, did you say the number of points for a Fibonacci? And tell me some of the features about this while I have my head in front of the camera.
We did it all in public. I think we did it all in Den even to get, we went through and we had people submitting different things and everybody was kind of voting on stuff and we all had our favorites. And the guy or gal, actually, I don't know, the artist that created it was very, very mercurial. Right? They were going to give up. It's like, you guys are just picking this other one. And I'm like, no, literally, I love yours.
Oh,
right?
Really?
And yet it's the whole crowd. So it's we don't know that anybody's going to win, but you're definitely not. There's not like a favorite or anything. And I basically had to convince this artist to just keep going, right? And it turns out they won.
Cool.
But the main
point
before my
time.
The main point was that symbol is a phi symbol. It's a Greek, the lowercase phi symbol, which is used for the Fibonacci numbers. And
that's perfect.
The whole, what do you call it? The golden ratio and all those things, right? So it's like, I'm
sure people are starting to catch on, like with the sliders and the different, there's a trend of Fibonacci, that number showing up and stuff. So that's cool.
I've been surprised people haven't asked us, it's like, why, right? So anyway, that's a longer discussion, but anyway.
Yeah, for sure. So we've got the agenda up in front of us today. As usual, there's a link if you want to join the call, if you have something that you want to discuss. We will have a discussion period at the end of once we get to the agenda, so we can bring you up. You don't have to have your camera on if you don't want. And then beyond that, let's just jump into it then.
Yep.
We have some live layers. February LCP, those layers are live. Metaverse won the contest, and then the other two winners are Texas and Airdrops. They funded the fee to create those. I've mentioned that before, but they're live now is the update. So you can go in there. We've got a couple of proposals for, I know at least in Metaverse and Texas too. There's some artwork being put up, some proposals for some things.
Yeah.
I'll check and see if there's anything new since I voted last time. But go vote on that stuff if you have it in there.
Reputation votes. There are a couple of turned on, or the proposals to turn on video posting, things like that.
Right. Yep.
I think there's one on reputation itself. A bunch of advertising. Something that popped up that I had never thought about was that there were, I think in Metaverse, there were 3, I believe, proposals for the avatar.
I did see that.
And it's like, it's interesting because we had no way to tell the user, oh, here's this one, but there's also other ones with the same, trying to change the same settings. So I've asked the devs, at some point we'll add that probably where at least you'll get an indicator and you can
If
go
there's multiple of the
look at
same
them.
thing, you can say
Yeah,
there's multiple proposals that would change this same thing that are currently active for voting.
right. And I kind of like it not to try to group them into a single vote,
Right.
where I get because the timing, it would be silly. But the interesting thing about it is that you could theoretically, it's like I'm going to vote all of them. I love them all, and they'll just one will pop up, and 2 days later another will pop up because that's when the votes finalize.
I saw that sort of almost happen already because one of them won, which was it was airdrop and it was the one with the parachute that had like Bitcoin Dash in those.
Hmm.
So that one, but then the other one automatically changed the art
Yeah,
where instead of saying from nothing, which was great, right? So the
yeah,
other one actually automatically updated when you looked at it because instead of saying from nothing to the other airdrop thing, it
yeah,
said from this one parachute to this other parachute.
yeah.
So yeah, because the
Cool.
timing and all that stuff. So yeah,
Yeah.
all that stuff. This layer stuff works pretty cool. Every time I do it and it passes or something, and especially in Gainesville, because like the company layer, as soon as the company this account that I'm on today that's on screen, as soon as they vote for the in the Gainesville layer, it passes. So if I want to change the art in there, it's an autocracy
Yes.
in that layer is what that is. You
But
know,
you
but that's
could,
on
if
purpose.
there are others who hold a lot, even if it's a small amount, you could abstain from voting,
Yes.
and it would just take the full week to
Yes,
change
so
stuff again.
that's exactly what we do. So since we have, it's the opposite of how World Blockchain works, where you mint them on the fly so that everyone has the appropriate percentage of vote whenever they vote on stuff, right?
Hmm.
What we do is we have just like a regular organization, and then we reward people with
Yeah.
votes for coming out to all the stuff that we do. And
Hmm.
so we still have the final say, right?
Hmm.
But what it lets us do is it lets everyone weigh in on their opinions and stuff. And we're going to do what they want. Like, why would we
Hmm.
go against it? They're not going to show
Right.
up for the event if I do
Right.
that.
Right.
So, oh, hey, David Miller. And so, yeah, we wait the full week every time. It's just literally, you got a week to vote. At the end of that week, every vote's a week. It just expires because we
That's
don't vote in
awesome.
it, that kind of
Hmm.
thing. And then we have a bunch of them on that we don't vote with. We have them so that we can give them out just
Right.
to people that show
Right.
that they're interested in, being part of that
Right.
collaboration. So
And as
a
the
bunch of different ways to do it.
DAO functionality, and we learn things that we have learned. I mean, another one is the runners up option. That was thrown in because we realized that we wanted a better signal for whether we would add more layers every month or not, and that's a really good one because the more people spend hard-earned matter to go ahead and get this layer created, it's a signal. Okay, we need to open it up a little more, maybe, and or pull it back if it makes sense later. I mean, that's it's for the DAO to decide. But um, in these cases, I mean, Texas, I think, spent 800 and Airdrop spent 200. Is that correct? Yes. Judges say yes.
I
Um,
think so. I'm gonna go with judges.
so that's 800 matter and 200 matter on top of whatever amount of lore was put into them, and on top of that's super interesting, I
Yeah,
think.
and
So
it is signaling. That's important to point out. I think the like describing it that way because there are some things that you put in because all right, this is friction and there's different levels of friction, and depending on how strongly somebody feels about something, they may or may not break through that friction to do the thing. And so that's
mhm,
a pretty good signal to the system saying, hey, there's demand and there's this much demand.
right,
So maybe
right.
scale up or down. And this will go into automating that process too.
Yep. And we do now have passed, so I believe
Yeah,
that the
so
next LCP will so we can go into I could go into a site-wide
yeah,
governance, or and
I didn't know which
by
way
the
you were
way, I
going.
propose that we and this is an informal proposal. I propose that we've been using the semantic site-wide governance forever to differentiate it between layer governance, but I think from now on we just say DENDAO, right? Say DENDAO voted to do this thing, and the one of them specific with the LCP is that I believe next month that any proposal with at least 8 unique voters can be created as a runner-up option, but it's 2,500 matter for anything other than the top five. The top five will still be the same pricing in matter: 2, 4, 6, 8, and 1,000, 10, 100 matter. But anything else outside of that range would be 2500 matter. Yeah, that one
That would
right
be
there.
this one that I have right here up, right?
Yes.
So
So
this is to expand the runners up option. You want to go ahead and go into these since
sure, sure.
it's
So we turned on DENDAO, we
yeah,
turned on site-wide governance. Effectively, everybody has a say, has everybody who's participating at any level. If you have founder votes, obviously, if you have liquidity, you have a say. If you have your behavior, if you are engaging with the system and generating matter, or if you have lots and you're generating matter, that's going to get you behavior. It's all objective, and so generally this one passed, and
and we're
it's
gonna
yeah, I guess
and keep this in mind whenever we start talking about the smart ballots partnership too, because this is going to feed this is going to directly apply into what we're talking about next
right,
with that,
right,
because that's
right.
because of that like that's who's behind these customized voting systems like
Right.
this.
And so this one, I guess we can talk about the discussion generally. The reason that this was even proposed is that we've noticed in the LCP, the layer creation process, that whenever um, whenever one of the layers would move high enough in the lore uh, ranking. So if you had something that was top ranked lore, it will, given even a short amount of time, always, not always, at least so far, every time it's happened, that layer proposal has gotten the most unique votes because everybody at least throws in one lot. So you end up with,
Got you. Yeah.
and you end up then with one created every time, and it's a horse race
That's a
situation
good point.
where,
I've noticed that, but I hadn't really like added that up in my head to be like, oh, that's the reason that the same one's winning every time is because
yeah,
I do see the 1 1 1 1 1 the trailing list of
yeah,
people to put in one lot,
yeah. Well, and it's funny
which is fine.
because yeah, it's great, but it gives you rights in there where you can
Yeah.
propose stuff and you can at least have some say. But it was an interesting thing because even in the last one, you could see, I believe, that airdrops was top, and metaverse. I think for various good reasons, it was a very topical thing that we thought. I even want for one thought we probably should have metaverse in there over airdrops. So it ends up with more lore, and then immediately, even though you had airdrops getting having the most unique, all of a sudden the metaverse gets that just because it outranked on lore. So it's just interesting.
Hmm.
I imagine the same thing could happen if it was easier to get more people together. Um, that if you had something that was way above everything else in unique voters, that it's going to attract the most lore also, because I'm going to want to have a big piece of that. Whoever's talking. So one way or another, we have two angles. There's another vote that was specifically to hit upon this, but this one was intended to spread. I don't know if you say spread the risk, but it's essentially if you want to have at least some participation in a lot of these layers, the way it's going right now is that you end up with a bunch of people coming into one, even though that might not be for any particular denizen. That might not be their most appropriate favorite layer that should be created. They're just putting it there because that's the way
Yeah,
that.
and you
So
also talked a little bit about how the bottom half or the bottom three quarters of that list doesn't really ever get looked at. People,
right,
are less likely to go down there and look because
yeah,
it's like, oh, these aren't going to win anytime soon.
right,
But if you know that now it's at least possible, if somebody wants to come in and
mm-hmm.
spend a bunch of their matter to create one of those that have been
Yeah.
proposed, and even if it's not theirs, of course, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just
Yeah, it's
anybody.
you have
So
to have
now
contributed. You have to have committed lore to it. So you have to, yeah,
So now it's like, well, you might go through and make sure that you have lore in the ones that you're really interested in, and that you're genuinely interested in. Sort of like how we got rid of being able to see if votes were positive or negative in the very beginning,
right,
like to
yeah,
avoid
people,
bandwagoning. It's sort of
yeah,
that. Like it's not the
mm-hmm.
same thing, but it's just saying, hey,
Doesn't
there's
matter,
actually a chance these will get. So throw at least sprinkle some through because I don't
right,
know. I want to
yeah,
see I want to see something that's popular, genuinely popular, win the most unique votes, but have a tiny amount of lore. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Do not
and
have much at all.
this is also, I think, the effect of this is that you will more, and we've already seen it with the regular top 5 runner up, that we've had a few of these of these 2 layers. They had significantly less lot created than the top, because the top's always millions. It would be amazing if we could see a layer created with only a couple of thousand lot.
Yeah, Texas didn't have a lot.
Hmm.
Didn't have a lot. Didn't have
Yeah,
many. Well,
yeah,
relatively
right.
to the others.
Right. So that's the effect of it, and that's a positive thing too. So, um,
So that's the one for
oh,
$2,500. Oh, what did you say?
by the way, there are
Oh,
2 points that were brought up in discussion about it that I promised we would at least consider later. That among
yes. There was
the
discussion.
one,
Yes.
the one was uh, the number. We had 8 because when we looked at it at that time, the contemporaneous ranking, I think that gave us a third of all the layer proposals were ranked in that way. That'll shift, of course. And so maybe it could be 13, maybe if it's a Fibonacci, maybe it could be 10, whatever, unique. The other was what to do with the matter fee. That right now all the matter fees going
Right.
to Den for whatever the DAO would consider for operations and funding later or anything else. But we could burn it. That would be DAO decision. I don't know, we could figure out what to do. So
I think that's a pretty good thing to talk about relating to what we're already talking about with governance. You'll notice that. Let's go over here to the feature set. Is this it? Prioritize the development. So, if anyone hasn't checked yet, the feature that won was the that's what I voted for. Never mind. Hold on. The one that won is the chat, layer chat, DM, group chat, stuff like that. So I wanted to talk about the liquidity real quick. You'll see that on the liquidity, more people have on that side than have on the lore side. So the Matter creator side, so the Matter ETH liquidity, versus the lore ETH liquidity. Because I
so
haven't
yeah,
added mine in. I know y'all weird hasn't added the lore in on his side. So right
let's
now, go ahead.
let's look at the numbers. Like so,
Yeah,
so
yeah,
on this
sure.
one, the liquidity, 100% of the liquidity voted for this chat option of lore. 10% of the behavior, 11% of the behavior voted for this option of
Hmm.
lore, compared to 10 of other options. So, and look on creator, what was it?
Yes.
It was 12% of liquidity voted for this option. That's super interesting. And then,
But most of the liquidity voted for a different option.
yeah, and 47% of behavior. And by the way,
Hmm.
we have to figure out. Oh, this is new too. It's 29% of creator voted for this. I'm looking at the
Right. This
heading.
is
That's
this
new.
is the new way of describing
Yeah,
it,
yeah.
which
What's
is
owner on that?
more
What's
legible.
top?
Owner,
Yeah. So
55.
55% of owners voted for this
Hmm.
option, and then founders,
Yes.
it's gonna be 50% of founders voted for this option. Okay, 2% voted for a different option. That's cool. Okay,
Cool.
very good.
But yeah, with you were talking about the matter fee, and one of the options. It's one thing we need more than we need to burn a token. I think personally is we need liquidity, and I've been playing with
Yes, different
Uniswap
option.
V3 quite a bit, and it's really the more I mess with it, the more I like it because you have a very good method of setting up. Basically, limit orders is what they kind of end up being. So you can add one-sided liquidity. You don't have to add both ether and lore or ether and matter to add
Yeah,
liquidity in there. You
yeah,
can just add it at a higher price than what it is currently, and that's basically you putting in a sell order, saying, "Hey, I've got matter," or "Hey, I've got lore,
hmm,
and here's the point at which I'm willing to part with it." It's just a personal decision,
hmm.
and then that could be something we do with matter, but that's also
Right.
yeah, it's unique to it's one of the reasons we moved over here is because it makes more sense
Hmm.
to me anyway to treat it like a to
Right.
have those tools, right? We
Right.
could have just come in and like used the full spectrum just like V2, but then why move over here if we're not going to use the extra tools?
Hmm.
But
Yep.
anyone who adds liquidity, either lore or matter, whether it's the pairing or whether it's one-sided, gets weighted in the votes.
Right. Right. Okay. And so This is the prioritization, and so it was chat was first. Second was the
Yeah, so that was
lot
that was
matter.
chat, and then what I wanted was the lot matter purchase, but that's
Yeah,
fine. And then I was looking at these yesterday. There's a few others that got votes too, like having the show
consensus.
consensus,
Mhm.
right? So that I was kind of basically treating this as a loose roadmap, saying we at least
Yep.
have indication signals of
Yep.
which ones specifically people
Yeah.
are interested in. So
It would be amazing if we, and I don't know how we would, maybe we would create a document that we can keep updating that will have these and have the ones, here are the options over here that have not been haven't ever received any vote. Here are the ones in the
have
order,
gotten
and
some
we'll just
attention.
arrange them. And these then, can switch around over time, and we can say, okay, that's finished, that's finished. That would be
the
amazing. I
the
think there's
Den
some
dynamic
document.
roadmap.
Yeah,
That would
it
be
would
cool,
just
and then it would just
laying
feed
out.
off of this.
Yep.
It would just sort them based on these votes
Yep.
as they
Yeah.
go on.
And maybe we put in a spreadsheet. That way we can just put in numbers and sort it. That'd be good. Okay.
And then we also have a proposal up, and it looks like it was approved to limit tags to 3 tags per post. So this will be something that we can finally bring some sanity to, and get rid of the walls of green tags that you have to scroll through to find out
Yeah.
what that person cooked for
It becomes
dinner.
a chore to do because normally I would say I want to, and I do it sometimes. I'm voting all of them down that shouldn't be because
It's a
the good.
chore. Yeah.
I will say the good thing about it, um, in the first iteration when tags were implemented, people were, and we didn't even think about it. People were rewarded for tagging something. So
Hmm.
even if it never got consensus, you would still get a little bit of a reward.
Right. You did have an incentive to do that.
Yeah, and so we've taken that away so that you don't get anything unless there's a consensus, and then the consensus dictates what whether it's a penalty or
You
a
know where I
benefit.
think there's still a problem there though, and this will be solved by the three max tags things. But if you literally find a post that even the OP hasn't tagged it,
Yeah,
and you blanket it with every freaking one, well then you're the proposer, and one of them will get consensus. And I don't think there is a negative penalty to getting it wrong, to voting against
right,
consensus in the
right.
tagging system itself, right? So I think that was maybe something that we could have fixed several ways, but I think this is such a
Yeah,
simple, like
yeah.
this is
This
going to
is
make you think
yeah,
about what you're picking instead of picking every
yeah.
simple one.
If you only get 3 tags on a piece of
Mhm.
content, then you have to pick well. We could also add in a negative if you add something that doesn't get another vote on it. The
We
issue there
could,
is you
but
might
that's
not
like the
tag
comp.
something if it's in a lower frequent, lower activity layer. Then you wouldn't be incentivized to tag it. You would, so
Yeah,
I don't know if I want to do that.
I think that's like the complex way of doing it is to just disincentivize people from doing it wrong.
Yeah,
But at the same time, do you need more than three tags each? You
no,
know,
yeah.
for
And in the
every
cases
20
you do, it's
people, like.
great because it's almost like a tiered consensus where
Mhm.
I come in and I only had 3, but we really need 5. That somebody else will add the other 2. They'll vote on mine. All good.
Yep, I agree. So that passed, and I'm glad.
Yes, that was awesome.
I don't even know
Okay.
if I got around to voting on that one, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I voted on it pretty quick. I like some of them. I'm trying to hold off so it can be in a. I want to kind of not that I want to see how people are voting, but I want to make sure something doesn't resolve sooner. Anyway.
So let's talk a little bit about we think
Yes.
we think we know what order these are coming in,
Yeah.
and we can talk a little bit about them. So layer chat is partially implemented already in the app, and we think that that's probably what's going to come first, right? Is each layer gets its own chat room.
Mm-hmm.
Now this might change, but probably not. This is kind of like we've had
Yeah.
one small meeting about it, right?
Right.
So unless something changes, that'll be the case, and this will be cool because now on the first pass, are we talking about doing the full on monitor chat? You get to see the posts that come in, kind of thing, or is that coming later?
Yeah. Yeah. That's what I would hope for.
Yeah, I think
Because
so too.
I think the biggest, like I say, all the backend's done. Right. In fact, the backend's done for DMs, group, and layer. It's already there. We don't have end-to-end encryption, which is planned. We decided to push that off. Um, but we do have, well, there's an API. Everything's already set. And so we have to work on the user interface to say,
Mm-hmm.
okay, if I'm in this layer, or even if I'm in a post that is in this layer, I need a sidebar or something to tell me, hey, there are 5 people talking in here, or there are 20
Yes.
messages since you last looked, that type of thing. How do I get an indicator to go in there? The very first iteration, it was hilarious because we didn't even put a timestamp on it, so you wouldn't know when
You had no
someone had
idea.
posted that. But it was, it was functional. It was
Yeah.
funny.
Yeah. I like
And
that because you can get chatter in there that
yeah,
and then maybe if somebody has a quick question, they'll just ask it in chat or something.
right,
I'm sure that'll
right.
happen.
Yeah, and then things like there's a little bit of tie into notifications, like if you would at someone by their account, or if you would at all. So effectively, anybody who's a subscriber to that layer would get a notification that you're asking everybody, something, stuff like that. But some of the more interesting pieces were that it was intended, and I'll tell you, way back. This is in 2019 when we built out if anybody remembers the rainbow threads, where literally you could see how deep a thread was by its color. It had a
Oh
spectrum.
no, I know what you're
Um,
talking about, but
Maybe we'll go back to that. It was pretty cool.
that's cool. Yeah.
It's just a like conceptual thing we put in, but that if you go into the lair chat, that it would be unique in that, it'd be like being in Telegram or being in Slack, or similar Discord, right, where I'm in this one group that's talking about a particular subject, right? um and it makes very good sense at the layer level, because even for Dragon Chain, it makes good sense at the layer level, because we could almost every Dragon Chain channel on Telegram is kind of mirrored, not necessarily all of them, but mirrored over
That's
on
true because
Den.
there's like we have the Dragon Chain layer itself,
Hmm.
but there's also the trading lounge. There's
Hmm.
also the cryptocurrency layer to talk
Yeah.
about like
Well, and there's
the
even
tech and
like
that.
there's multiple
Um,
language layers, Dragon Chain language
oh
layers. I think there's a
yeah, that's right.
Netherlands, there's an Italian, there's definitely Spanish,
Yeah,
very
yeah.
active. And so they would all have their own place that they could choose if they wish to move over. And I know Dragon Chain in particular, I know people there are going to basically effectively close down the Telegram channels for posting, and instead have a bot that pushes over content from Den into those. So you can still join them, but if you want to ask a question, it'll tell you go to Den.
So it'll be like an announcement channel.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
but it'll
Well,
be
that makes sense.
active. And effectively, if you're in that layer chat, you go back and forth just like you would in any other chat. But when Dave comes in and he posts some new content, it shows up inline in the chat. So you can either click on it, go to it. You could comment in the chat itself. Um, the original vision was that a reply to the chat feed item would actually be a reply in the thread too. But you could go to the
Oh,
threaded
I see what you're
interface.
saying. Yeah.
Um,
At the
but
very least, I would like to see that where you can see posts coming
yeah,
in
and
sort of
replies.
as they happen
Yeah,
and replies.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because then it's a very live system, even with the threads. Like there's a very different way of thinking about social content if you're a Reddit user versus a Telegram user. I mean, a Telegram user, I remember in the bull markets in 2018 and in 2017, when all the token sales and everything were happening, I would spend hours I would go all the way to, and people would joke, because if I was in meetings all day, 8 hours later, you're talking about thousands of posts.
Oh
And I
yeah.
would start at the top, and I would go through. And even
Okay. What did I
though
miss?
they'd had newer discussions, people would laugh that, oh, Joe's getting through the feed, because, I'd be answering something from, 10 hours ago. And then I'd
I
slowly
noticed that
work
you
my
do
way
that every now and then. You'll scrub through like fellowship chat, and you'll
down.
pop in with something from like 2 weeks ago, and be like,
Yeah.
"Oh, he does come in and catch up." All right.
Not as much as I used to, but yeah. But with this, it's like you'll have both. You'll have a live, plus you have a threaded view that is very persistent and easy to point to, right?
Hmm.
So that was kind of the thought of it.
That's gonna be nice. It's gonna be nice.
Yeah. And as for DMs, it's DMs. And as for group chats, it's group chats. We have to figure out how best to build an interface. The key, the interesting piece for both of those, like say, layer chats will be entirely on chain, right? everything will be persisted as with everything else in Den. For the DMs and group chats, especially because some of them will be in the future would be end-to-end encrypted.
Mm-hmm.
The vision, whether or not we do this, is kind of a DAO decision. We're probably going to go out and say, what do you guys want? Would be that I effectively wanted something that was cleaner than the way that Slack or Telegram, because typically you'll set up a group chat and you'll work on something and then you'll close it down, or it'll still sit in your history forever. And the other bit is that typically I wanted it to be more, when I first wrote it up, subject based. Like, say I need to meet with you and someone else on some artwork on some project, and
Almost a
that,
scheduling system.
yeah, instead of it being a thread in somewhere, it would just be, we're going to have it in this group chat, and if any of us think that it is valuable enough, we can pay a lower fee or something to store, to keep it on chain.
Oh,
Otherwise
that's
it'll
not
just
what I thought you were
disappear.
saying. Never mind. But
It'll
yeah, that's
just
cool.
go away, right?
You can you can you can mint the moment as an NFT. Mint the conversation.
Yes, right, effectively, right? And that way,
Cool.
you have it because you want it, and
Mint the moment.
wouldn't matter. And I don't know if it would be a, shared cost, or if it would be something that I would save it, but you didn't save it, so I don't know. But and I don't even know if we want that, or if we
Well,
want
I
to
would
just
imagine that we
time
do
on
we
it.
that we do that like when we come back around and do, if we're putting off end-to-end encryption, then we'll
Yeah,
probably
yeah,
do those two things as a second pass is
right,
how I would
right,
imagine. Because by the time we have layer chat, we've got group chats, we got DMs. Once those are in place, we're going to be ready to like vote
right.
again on
Yep,
what the next feature is going to be and things like
yep.
that.
Yeah. And the great thing about DMs, there are some identity elements that we might or might not get into the first round, but we do want to make sure that, like, say,
That's going to
team
be important,
members,
yeah.
or that you can prove that this really is somebody direct messaging you.
Right,
But
because fraud exists,
yeah,
and you're going to get people that, well, like in Telegram, I won't DM you. I'm not. I'm not going to
yeah.
ask you for your seed
And
phrase.
the craziest thing is for Telegram. It's like, and
Hmm.
it's heavily used by crypto.
Oh
And
yeah,
you could say some of the same things for Twitter. Why have they never formalized that to say to say that it literally, they have a lot of nice privacy settings. Why don't they have something that literally the system itself dictates that this person is not DMing you um, first? I mean, I don't know. There's a bunch of weird
you
stuff
could
like
even
that.
have a quick directory to where you can look up who you think
Yeah.
you're talking to and see if they have that flag set about I
Right.
won't DM you
Right.
or something like that.
Right. Yeah.
There's a bunch of different ways you could go about it.
Yeah. That just blows my mind if they haven't done that. But anyway,
So let's move on from that feature is pretty self-explanatory. Let's move on to this partnership with Smart Ballots and
right.
what that means for someone's ability to work with to to leverage systems that we've proven that normal people can understand. And I think that's
Right.
maybe the one of the what I see as one of the strong points of it.
Hmm.
And you would be able to elaborate on like what the specific products or services are. But the way that I see it and what I put in the notes down here is basically, there's, if you read the announcement, there's this description of this can be a full-on Wyoming-based DAO, legally registered with the state, an entity that you can use to have a bank account and hire a lawyer, or you can not use that portion of the technology at all, and you could just use the
Right.
built-in features that are already in a layer in DIN,
Right.
which would not include things like the behavioral systems that we use for voting in DENDAO and things
Right.
like that. Or if you
Right.
wanted a combination of certain features, or if you wanted to specifically have a specific type of government, or maybe you have a DAO already and you have some way that you want to like link up existing
Right.
tools that you have with the layer, I don't know, normie DAO side
Right.
of it.
Right.
And so
Right.
then you can, and in doing that, the reason I think that's important and a strength is because the crypto savvy DAO culture is fantastic and it's world changing. But think about how much more resources they could have if they then opened up themselves to anyone, even if they don't care about crypto, even if they don't like crypto. You don't have to present it to them like it's crypto. You can present it
Right.
in an easily, downloadable, user-friendly package, and
Right.
just say, hey, Here's how it works. Vote on what you want. That's how it goes. The end.
Right.
Kind of
Right.
kind of thing, right?
Yeah. And I mean, I see it as three general, I don't know if you call them products or services, but that the first is just vanilla layer DEN. You get a lot token based NFT token based governance for your community. And in some cases, like say, generally DEN is focused on the communities of interest, right? Not communities of action type stuff. That's, it was all, this is about crypto. This community is about Dragon Chain. This community is about tech news, whatever else, right? For content. But we do have some businesses that are already starting to use this in an organizational way to make decisions and to get feedback and to provide ownership. You mentioned Gainesville, you mentioned a few other things, and we have a project that right now the plan is to use Den directly for it as a DAO. There's another project that's coming in this spring. It's an outside project that is going to use the custom. So the first is the straight layers. You can come in. You don't even have to call yourself a DAO. It's just, I have I might have
It's a governance system. It's governance toolkit.
neighborhood org. We want to vote. Sally's lawn is not being cut, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's how you handle that stuff. The second level is once you have what is really a DAO, and you're doing some level of organization in a decentralized way using the layers that might be normal people, they might be crypto people, doesn't matter. That if you need that DAO to be able legally to hire or to do things in the physical world, and it's kind of like that. That's how I consider it. It's
I see what you're saying.
Bridge between this virtual DAO organization and the physical world, that you can come through DIN and smart ballots to get a registered entity in Wyoming that is already coded up, that we already know this is what they expect to see in the application. And you just have to fill in your name and or the name of the entity, the org, and various other things that would be normal. But now it effectively creates an LLC there that is a DAO that can create other LLCs. And so that, if you have funding attached, can hire out accountants and lawyers and it can hire out manufacturers, or
it allows you to operate within the existing structure of how things are required to operate in the world that already is built around you, that kind of thing.
Yep. And then the third level is the custom, where and that's why that external, in fact, the project we're working on and that external entity will be going through smart ballots to get the custom. In one case, it's NFT based voting. The other, it's going to be NFT plus behavior plus some other things. And I don't know whether people will want this or not. So that, we have this mechanism that says, look, if you have an NFT on Ethereum, or for that matter, any blockchain, we can, the system can watch it and know, oh, this person sold it, so their vote's gone, right?
Right, yeah.
And, very simple things like that. But the interesting thing is they don't have to bring their NFT and stake it into a contract or anything else like that. They can just claim that address and use their mobile to vote, and it's attached. And yet, in some cases, they might want to say, I also want an interface because I want to vote with MetaMask and literally, have that for security reasons or other.
If that's the experience you like, then whatever.
Yeah, we can do that too. So anyway,
I don't like having to do that. whenever I I do it plenty, but still, whenever I talk to people about staking, that's usually sort of a hard thing to get across, because I say traditionally, nothing's traditional yet, but traditionally in this very young industry, people have been pretty okay with giving up their assets, giving up control of their assets to a smart contract or to some staking system or farming system. Mm-hmm. And like if you look at some of them where you stake and then that yields a token, and then you can take that token and put it in a different staking algorithm, and that's this whole big brain stuff that people are talking about. Mm-hmm. We do the same thing, It's just that, like, if you think about the way that it works, it's completely different and it's based on like reality and measurable value, which is really interesting. But
Yeah.
our lot yields a token, which can be restaked to yield a different token, right? So if you
Yeah.
get matter from lot, your matter is auto staked for you and yields lore, which is
Yep.
then what auto staked for you to yield even more lore. So
Yeah.
we have similar
Or
mechanisms to where
and
it
you can
kind of
manually
cascades and
yeah, you can manually effectively, we call it commit, but you're staking your lore to a proposal for in an LCP, or if you're creating your own layer, you have to bring the lore in, and it actually stakes in the end when the lot is created on Ethereum. So um, there's a whole bunch of really really interesting stuff there, but you're effectively staking your lore to a proposal that might get
there are
created in
definitely
a
differences,
lot.
it's like with LCP, those lore get burned and converted into a different
No,
token.
they're attached because
Oh,
you
are
can
they
extract
attached?
them. Yeah, if you have
Oh,
one
yeah,
lot,
you're right.
you can
Now that
pull
I
it
think
out.
about it.
You can burn the lot and pull the lore back out, and there's a fee that is adjustable. So, um, but we set it really
Oh,
high
yeah, yeah,
to
yeah.
keep
That's
people
right.
from doing it.
Because
Just
yeah, yeah, yeah. We had somebody do that and burn him, and it did work.
yeah,
It works that
yeah.
way. Cool.
So it's pretty cool.
Who knows? All right. So that's anything else you want to say about that? I know that
I think
there's
it's
a whole.
pretty
If you're
peak.
interested in that, there's a whole article published about it in the, I guess the Den layer is where it would be, right?
Yes,
Cool.
yes. Is it in Denler or Dendauer? I don't remember where it is. I think it's
One of
Denler.
those. It's in one of those. Den or DENDAO.
Den. I think it's in Den.
You want to go look? Let's go look.
Yeah.
Layers. I'm gonna say it's in Den.
You lost your place.
I know it's probably not in Den at all, is it?
I'll
Oh,
bet it
right.
is.
Look at that. It's in Den.
Yeah.
What do I
Yeah, it
win?
makes good sense there.
No, I didn't lose my place. I'll just go back twice. It's fine.
Okay, very good.
I got a back button. All right, so that's smart ballots and Den.Social. Cool. I also have one person, one very experienced, capable, serious person that wants to use it locally. Because I talk about, you just said it a few minutes ago. You talk about Gainesville. I talk about Gainesville a lot. I just love this town. But I've got another group that I've started talking to, but I haven't really followed up with, and they're tentatively interested. And so, if a couple of local groups do this, I would love to see it be like, oh, I want to do that, or I want to, hey, look what they're doing. I want to, oh, look at that. That's interesting. They're able to scale up that way. Interesting.
Yeah.
So that's where that's.
There
That's
could
where
be
that's
some
headed.
stuff too, something we haven't thought about, like say NFT projects. Here's a collection of NFTs that were, maybe minted uh, half a year ago or something, ages ago. They could effectively create a DAO from. I mean, you could potentially even drive. I don't know how it would work, but if I held some NFTs from some collection, I could start a DAO on my own and then just build it up so anybody who came in could be granted. And then I don't know how it would develop. It's just an
So we
interesting
actually
model.
this isn't on the agenda, but we do. There is a local my avatar, my Rhino avatar that I've switched to recently. It's a local group, Righteous Rhinos, and they've got like a charity going on with some like White Rhino Conservatory or whatever you call it.
Cool.
And there was actually we had a question at one of the local meetups where we had some let's say there's door prizes or you get in free if you have the app was kind of the thing to get people workshopping it, getting
Hmm.
some feedback. And the question did come up about like, hey, how could we participate? Could we, could Den have some way of validating that one of our members does own one of these rhinos? And in fact, yes, this is the owner of the rhino because they, at the time at least, didn't have a good reason to do that. I'm sorry, a good way to do that.
Yeah.
That kind of deal. So
Hmm.
that's an application that could be done. It just takes some planning depending on what it is exactly you're doing and if your NFT collection is going to be growing into several and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Anyway, I just wanted to get that out of my brain since it
That's
popped
awesome.
up. So we have,
I think
oh,
it's
we went through all this just now.
yeah. I think
All
it's
right,
everything.
cool. So, has anybody been in chat? Gravity Crab was around, so thanks for joining us there. And anybody else who's listening in, thanks for listening in because there's there's a lot to put out. We have
Yeah.
we have I guess there's 4 shows total per week, right? So there's a lot of
Yes.
information.
Yes. Yep.
And you know what I think is a really I'll put this out there to see if anybody decides to take it on as a challenge, but it would be interesting and I think valuable content for Den for someone to, like somebody that has more time than me, to recap what was said and make their own little recap weekly.
Yeah.
Whether it's a video or like another
Are you,
like show thing, or whether it's just an article
Wow.
highlighting it or things like that. I think that's some low-hanging fruit that would probably
Yeah.
get rewards. Everyone doesn't have time to listen to. I mean, gosh, we had 2 hours on World Blockchain, right,
Yeah.
today, and
Yeah.
another hour here, and then we've got an hour for Super Happy sometimes, or between 30 minutes and 60, and then my show Coffee goes 2 hours almost every time. I think we
Yeah.
did an hour and 40 minutes last time, which was
I
short.
mean, if it was somebody who was listening to any or all of them at 2x speed and just marking the, and I think we already do this for Super Happy so that the AMAs can, and we probably do it for the roundtable where we're actually getting the segment links by putting the timing info so that this question happened here, so that people could go and look at the description and go direct to that question.
You know what else could be done is since until we have our native video in the platform, right now everything is mostly YouTube, and YouTube does auto-generate AI-generated captions, and you can download those captions in a file.
Yep.
So that's an option too. If you're like me, I much prefer to scrub through some text than to try to figure out where in the video this person's talking about something. So just some ideas to put out there.
Yep. Very good. But if anything, if there were summaries, if they were posted on Den, I would vote them up like crazy. If they're posted elsewhere, we could probably find a way to reward them. If it's roundtable stuff, there's a way to reward people there.
It's something to think about. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. So I just talked about the 4 shows. There they are on screen. Each of them are hosted in a different layer. So World Blockchain's in their own layer. Dragon Chain layer hosts Super Happy on Tuesdays. The Den layer hosts Coffee with Den, which is my show on Wednesday morning for me anyway, on the East Coast. And then this call is hosted in DENDAO on today, right about now.
Yep. Perfect.
So yeah, we'll see you next week. Joe, I'll see you on Super Happy on Tuesday, and then I'll see everybody on Wednesday for coffee, and we'll go from there. It's been good.
Perfect.
All right.
Thanks.
Thanks everyone. Have a good one.
Bye.
Because that goal will serve to organize and measure the best.
Adaptable, all capital, label radical yet rational. A tactical approach is palpable if this animal is fallible. But that conclusion is laughable, so if we're all detachable from the mandible, you see it now?